we talk about climate financing, adaptation, mitigation. So we are going to showcase one project that we are using to upscale climate action in Ghana. This session will basically be a presentation, after which we'll have an interaction like Q&A session. My name is Antonia Pinti. I work with EPA. So the presentation will be done by myself and my colleague, Ivy, and she will start the presentation. So I'll invite Ivy to start the presentation. Thank you.
Hello and welcome to the Ghana Pavilion. My name is Ivy Lomote, and as Tony indicated, I'll be doing the presentation with him. And we both work with the Environmental Protection Agency of Ghana. So basically, we are going to showcase what we do with communities and on-the-ground actions in terms of climate activities. And we are doing this through the implementation of the Ghana Landscape Restoration and Small-Scale Mining Project. So this will be the outline of the presentation. We'll have a background, the project targeted landscapes, a project summary, some key activities that we are doing, the project development indicators, and what we've done so far, and then we'll have a conclusion. So basically, this slide is explaining to us that we need to do things in an integrated manner. We can't be doing things, if we want to really target climate change issues, we need to work in an integrated way, in a holistic approach. So it's not just about one institution working in one landscape, but they need to have multiple institutions who have the mandate to do different things to work within a landscape for a successful project implementation. And this is what we piloted as a country in Ghana using the Sustainable Land and Water Management Project, which we implemented from 2011 to 2020, about 10 years of implementation. And this piloted the integrated approach whereby we have different institutions working within different landscape. And when I mean landscape is, we have the forest reserves, we have the wildlife protected areas, we have the agricultural landscapes, and we all work together to make sure that things work well and for the benefit of the environment and the community. So the Ghana Landscape Restoration and Small-Scale Mining Project is building on these successes and these lessons that we learned from the previous project implementation to make sure that things work. So when we mean integration for the project, we mean using a blended finances as well as institutional. So it's not just one institution, it's not just one financing source, but different blends of finances, different development partners, and different institutions to make sure that we tackle land degradation issues. For the project, the Ghana Landscape Restoration and Small-Scale Mining Project, we have a blended funding sources. We have the Global Environmental Facility, which is the GEF, contributing 12.76 million US dollars. We have the ProGreen contributing 15 million. We have the EGPS, which is contributing 600,000 USD. And then we have the IDA loan, which the government of Ghana committed, and that is 75 million USD. So in total, we are talking about 103.36 million USD for the project. With the implementation and beneficiary institution, for the project, we have two broad areas. We have the landscape restoration and the small-scale mining theme. And for the landscape restoration, we have the Ministry of Environment, Science, Technology, and Innovation. We have the Environmental Protection Agency. And it's important to note that in as much as you want the integration, you have different institutions implement. You need one institution to be able to collaborate all this to make sure that things are done in a coordinated manner. And that is where the EPA comes in, and that is the role that the EPA is playing in the project. We have the Forestry Commission, and we are working with both their Wildlife Division, their Forest Services Division, and the Resource Management Support Center. We have Ghana Cocoa Board working within the cocoa sector. We have the Ministry of Food and Agriculture working within the agricultural landscape. And we also have the Land Use and Spatial Planning Authority and the Water Resource Commission, and also the World Resource Institute, who are doing different activities under the landscape restoration theme. Under the small-scale mining theme, we have the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, which is the main ministry coordinating the activity. We have the Minerals Commission. We have the EPA also there. We have the GATE. We have the University of Mines and Technology, PMMC, and then Ghana Geological Survey Authority. For anything to work, definitely you need to have governance structures. And at the national level, we have the Project Steering Committee. So as I indicated, it's two broad areas. So you have the Environmental Protection Agency coordinating the landscape restoration aspect, and we have the small-scale mining being coordinated by the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources. And the Project Steering Committee is co-chaired by both the Ministers of Environment, Science, Technology, and Innovation, and the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources. And basically, the Project Steering Committee serves as a policy-making body to guide the project implementation. And we have the project coordinating units, which I already mentioned, one at EP and one at the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources. And we have the project management platform, and it's basically a technical group made up of the focal points from the different institutions, whereby we take technical decisions, we develop our work plans, our budgets, before we send it to the project steering committee for any approval or for any policy direction. And then we have the National Sustainable Land Management Committee, which serves as a technical advisory function for the project landscape restoration activities. At the sub-national level too, we have some project structures, because you can't always work from up and go down. So you need to have structures to be able to get closer to the communities. And at the regional level, we have the Local Steering Committee, and it's just mimicking the National Project Steering Committee. But for the Local Steering Committee, we have the district chief executives, we have the coordinating directors, and we have the regional heads of all the implementing agencies. And we also have a technical coordination office, which is based at EPA in Bolga and then in Kumasi. And they are also mimicking the project coordinating units at EPA. At the district level, we have the district water planning team, which helps with all the planning activities. We have the district mining committees. We have the CREMA executive committees. We have the protected area management advisory units. And at the community level, we have the community watershed management team and the community resource management committees. So now the project at a glance. The project approval date from the World Bank was in August 2021, but because of the loan component, we had to go through cabinet and parliamentary approval, which we concluded everything in around December 2021. And then activities actually started in April, thereabouts, 2022. So the project is barely about, even though it's 27 months from World Bank board approval, it's less than, it's about 20 months with actual project implementation activities. It's expected to close on 30th September 2027. That is 6 years of project implementation. And the PDO objective is to strengthen integrated natural resource management and increase benefit to communities in targeted savanna and cocoa forest landscapes. The project has 5 components. Component 1 deals with institutional strengthening for participatory landscape management. And my colleague will talk about some of the activities that we are doing, but this is just a glance. And that component has 14.21 million USD committed to that component. The second component is enhanced governance in support of sustainable artisanal small-scale mining, which has 17.48 million committed. We have the sustainable crop and forest landscape management, which has an amount of 60.28 million. And we have the project monitoring and knowledge management, which has 11.39 million. For the fifth component is contingent emergency response component. And for that component, it's $0. There's no budget to that. But in case there is an emergency, I can give an example like the COVID that happened in 2022, that the government of Ghana can decide to reallocate some of the funds to do an emergency response, and that is when we have to reallocate from any of the components to components 5. But for currently, it's 0 budget. For the project targeted landscapes, we are working within 2 broad landscapes. We have the Northern Savannah Zone. So we are working within Upper East, Upper West, Northeast, and then the Savannah region. And then for the cocoa forest landscape, we are working in Ashanti, Eastern, Central, and then Bono East. And we also targeting some 13 sub-basins where the Water Resource Commission will be developing integrated water resource management plans. For the project activities, we have the integrated land use and water management planning. And so far what we've done and subsequently what we'll be doing till the project closure is we are developing spatial development frameworks and integrated water resource management plans. And the interesting thing about the project is we are using existing mandates of institutions, and we are using staff within the institutions. So the capacity for them to develop, go through the process of development still remains there, even after the project ends. And so we are building the capacity of the district assemblies to be able to implement or develop these SDFs and the land use plans. And I've indicated we'll develop some SDFs and also 13 integrated water resource management plans. When it comes to the agricultural landscape, we are working within 26 districts, both in the northern and in the southern side. And we are supporting farmers, community level farmers, to be able to implement sustainable land management technologies. And this include crop productivity improvement, agroforestry, additional livelihood interventions. We're also doing some livelihood productivity improvements where we are providing water systems to be able to feed or water their animals, and also develop rangelands and fodder banks so that they will have feed for the animals throughout the whole year. And then also post-harvest management intervention, crop drying platforms, storage facilities, and also we are doing riparian establishment. So apart from giving them the extension support to be able to do all these activities, one interesting thing is that we support these farmers with input incentives. So we give them fertilizer, we give them seeds, we give them trainings, we give them tree seedlings and everything to be able to really adopt it, because based on the lessons that we learned, we realized that for a farmer to adopt a technology, you need to kind of support the person a bit to be able to adopt it. And once they see the benefits, they easily uptake it and it spreads. Under the agricultural landscape, we're also doing the rehabilitation of moribund farms, and that is rehabilitation of overaged cocoa farms. And we are targeting to do about 2,000 hectares of rehabilitation. For sustainable forest management, where we are working with the Forest Services Division, we are developing forest reserves management plan for 8 of the forest reserves. We are doing some woodlot establishments. We are doing enrichment planting within forest reserves. And we are doing the modern Tonja system. This is a system that they engage communities to farm within the forest reserves. So the farmer is given access to the forest reserves. And then they will plant. So whilst you are cultivating your crops, you're also being made to plant trees. And once I think the canopy closes, then they will be asked to move out. So there's an agreement that the Forest Services Division have with the fringe communities. We're also doing boundary pillaring around the forest reserves and then green fire breaks. For the wildlife management and biological corridors, we are doing CREMA formation. And this is basically a process whereby you engage communities in a participatory way so that they develop their own management plans and they are able to live in harmony with the wildlife, because you have wildlife moving from the protected areas through their farmlands to another area. So it's a process to help them live in harmony with the wildlife and also manage their natural ecosystem. And then we also have the protected area management, where we are doing some boundary pillaring, we are doing wildlife monitoring, where we've installed the Earth Ranger monitoring tools in the Mole National Park, and it's to enhance the activities of the wildlife park managers to be able to do the wildlife monitoring. And then also, we also have some boundary clearing. I'll stop here, and then Anthony will continue with the pictures and then the targets so far.
Okay, so under the activities, one of the activities under the mining component is to formalize artisanal small-scale mining. And this includes training and transfer of technologies, as well as reclamation of man-house sites, which is a very difficult task, but the project is of the view that if you're able to show how man-house site can be reclaimed, then other stakeholders can follow. We know that it is the responsibility of those who are mining to reclaim, but in the view of government and the bank for that matter, they realize that we can pilot a reclaim land and see how it goes. And we are doing a lot of cross-cutting issues, gender issues, environment and safeguards, and child labor, both in the cocoa forest landscape and the northern savanna zone, as well as the mining aspects. So some of the activities that Ivy said have been illustrated in pictures. We do sub-project verification, and the projects adapt a bottom-down approach. So we do planning exercise, and then they identify issues or challenges in their area, mostly related to agriculture and environment. And then they came up with how they can solve it. So when that is done, even though most of the part of the funds is grant, there's loan component. So we need to verify those who want to do the project. Do they have the land? If they want to do poultry, for instance, they are supposed to provide maybe housing for the poultry before the project will support otherwise. It shows commitment of the beneficiary. So it's not we are dashing out something. We know that if somebody doesn't commit to something, you just go and give maybe incentive to the person, and without any commitment, you may not show. So even for farm input, for example, maize, you need to show us your land. The extension officers have to verify throughout this process that your land has been prepared before the seeds can be given to you. Okay, so these are some of the input supply that we do. And one thing about the project is that the inputs are not supplied to the district office. They are sent to the communities. And then we have the community watershed management team, one of the local structures. In fact, they form the basis of our implementation. And they have to make sure that the right quantity is delivered and they signed, and the extension agents will sign. So inputs are delivered to the doorstep of the community for them to use. So these are some of the seeds, and the earlier one was fertilizers. And this is community, chairman engaging people that the inputs have come, so they need to prepare for it. So this is sharing of input seeds. We make sure that everybody gets the right quantity as they were verified. So this is also cassava. And this cassava sticks. So we are doing cassava in the north. And there are successes to show that. So these are fencing materials. One of the challenges that we have in the northern savanna particularly is during the dry season, when you want to do lots or plant trees, you compete especially with animals. So in some areas, you need to fence them, because at that time, anything that they see, they will chew, whether it's stick, whether it's mango, anything. So sometimes we provide fencing materials or woodlot establishment to some level for proper results. So these are input supply straight to the community, and then they're able to transplant as early as possible. These are seedlings. We also provide support to extension officers in terms of motorbikes, as well as bicycles for our community watershed management teams. Okay, so this is a picture showing the first one on the top shows that a farmer has just harvested rice, and the project is landscape management. So if you're a farmer and you want to be part, you need to do sustainable farming, not normal farming. So if you are doing rice, you have to do bonds. And you realize that the bonds is able to retain a lot of water, and then they're able to get the results that they need. And the evidence to show that their crop yields have increased when they do these practices, even though initially they may say that it's tedious, but when they're able to do it, first of all, agric officers will do demonstration, and then the farmers will do it in their farms. Agroforestry, basically, under the other previous project, we did it in the north. They plant mangoes and cashews. And this is fodder banks establishment, and they can cut them, and the dry season, they're able to feed their livestock. Community dugout for watering. We have, I don't know the number, but more than 10, yes, in the north. And this dugout has been designed for the communities for them to water their livestock. We know that water is a very critical issue, and especially for communities that are bordering the parks. If you don't do this, if you don't give them this water during the dry season, they may go into the reserve, and when they come back, they come with a lot of diseases. So we make sure that those who are doing livestock around the fringes of the parks, they get this water so that they don't enter the forest to come for water. And it's vis-a-vis the forest, the wild animals too. They can also come in here and drink for water. So we also do dugouts in the reserves for Mule and Gwe, for instance, the dugout, so that everybody will stay in their lanes so that we don't transmit diseases through the project. Yes, we have a mini industrial processing facilities for Gary and Share. So we talk about land use maps, and okay, so one of the challenges in Ghana is sometimes you teach the farmer to do the sustainable practices, and at the end of the day, you get a lot of yield. We need to manage the yield. We need to reduce post-harvest losses, because if you plant and you get a lot of yields and you are not able to manage the losses, it tends to be zero. So we also provide drying platforms. These are simple technologies designed by local artisans, and then they help them to dry their crops and maize and other things. It has canopy cover for against rain as well. And as I was saying, we also do maps by the RMSC Department of the Forestry Commission, and then we need to validate the maps. So this is a validation exercise of the maps. We are developing SDFs, and it involves a lot of maps. And the project is of the view that if you are not planning, then you are failing. So we are developing the land use plans. And the land use plans, we involve communities in validating the map. We are able to know the area and what the area can be used for in those maps. So this is our annual review meeting where we share lessons among ourselves, what is working and what is not working, and how best we can improve the project during the project implementation period. We also do a lot of sensitization. The one you see there is the Dija National Park staff. They are sensitizing settler communities. In one of the project area, in the Dija and the Koja strip. We have some settlers in the park. When the park was being formed, they didn't move them, so they're in the park. So now we need to sensitize them how not to encroach the park. So this is some of the education they are doing. And the CEC is the Crema Executive Committee. They are in charge of a whole Crema when it is formed, and that is a picture of closed areas. Engagement is very important because if you are doing landscape projects, it means that you are working on the land. And we know that Ghana, land belongs to the chiefs. So we take engagements of the chiefs very important. Initial stages of the project, a lot of chiefs were consulted, and we are still consulting. Wherever you want to do any undertaking, we need to engage the right people, which are normally the chiefs, so that they give go ahead to you to work on the land. Bushfire, especially in the northern savannah, is a challenge. And so we try to, as much as possible, take measures to safeguard our investments. And so we do a lot of bushfire awareness and training. Bushfire is also prevalent in some parts of the southern part as well, in the Kowu area and the Afram Plains. So once woodlot or riparian or even agricultural landscapes project is established, we form community volunteer groups, and they in turn make sure that in case there's fire, they try to stop it. But their main activity is to do awareness, to do things that will prevent the fire in the first place. And I even mentioned some of the green bells, fire breaks that they do to prevent fire in the first place, because sometimes when the fire sets in, you may not be able to protect the investment. We also talk about the PAMAO. They advise the wildlife and the Crema community on human-wildlife conflicts and how to resolve the issues. This picture is the local steering committee. We have two of them. This is for the cocoa forest landscape. And this is the local steering committee for the northern savannah zone. And under the mining aspect, they also have the district mining committees. They oversee the project activity in the district where it is being implemented. And this is some of the trainings and inauguration and operationalization of the committee. And as the project seeks to formalize artisanal small-scale mining, one thing the mining section is aware is that in Ghana, people are likely to mine everywhere, like there is gold everywhere. And they also know that some small-scale miners mine and they don't get anything at all. They do try and error in most cases. So they are trying to block out areas in Ghana to know that this area is mineralized. There's mineral here. So if you're a small-scale miner, you should go here instead of this place. And this is the magnetometer, one of the sophisticated equipment they use in determining where it mineralized. It is fixed with a drone, so that they can use to do the exercise. And they are on course in blocking in the Dunkwao area at the moment. These are some of the land preparation activities for our restoration. You see that the land is quite bare, but we hope to restore it very soon. Okay, so we know that every project has grievance, so we try to do, we have a grievance redress mechanism, and so, but we know that the issues will not normally emanate from Accra. If it's Accra, we will find a way of solving it. But when there's problem in the communities, it can, affect the project a lot. So we do step-down training of GRM at the community level. These are some of the riparian activities where we seek to restore degraded forests along major basins under the project. So I'll take us through a bit of our indicators and what we have done so far. We have to restore we need to bring about 12 million hectares of land under the special plan. As at now, is zero, but advanced plans has gone on, and the Water Resources Commission is in the process of starting the basin plan for three of the basins. That's the Blackwater, the Sisler, and the Pupon. And these three basins alone will cover more than 4 million hectares when it is done. So we need to also do sustainable management practices. And under the breakdown, we need to do about 110,000 for conservation agriculture. That is agriculture that takes care of the environment, the climate, and all those things. So far, we have done almost 18,000. And then we need to plant trees in forest areas outside forest reserves. And that includes the agroforestry that we are doing, the woodlot. Our target is 16,000. We have, as at the last check, we've done almost 10,000. And then area under CREMA, the CREMA that we are talking about, we have a baseline of 500,000 because in the previous project, we were able to establish some CREMA. And then we are supposed to add some to it. And so far, we are not yet finished with any of the CREMAs yet, but most of the CREMAs are at the stage of finalizing their bylaws and constitution. And when that is done, then it is gazetted, then the Minister for Environment will give them Minister for Lands will give them the power of devolution to say that now they can manage their own corridor as it is enshrined in their constitution. It's quite a lengthy process, but I know that about 5 of them at a very advanced stage. So under riparian, we are supposed to do 5,800. We have done almost 1,005 at the moment. And then area under sustainable forest management, we are supposed to do 1,076,000. We've done about 1,025,000 at the moment. And under abandoned land area of mine site restored, the project set a target of 2,000, land to reclaim. So far, we have not started underground activity, but a lot of work has gone on. A technical working group has been formed, and then they've mapped out some potential areas, which is amounting to about 700 hectares at the moment. And then they've done some community engagement. They are now at the stage of recruiting a consultant to do all the ESIAs and all those things before we can go into the reclamation. So this is a yes and no indicator. And for the small scale mining, we have to make sure that environmental and social management system for ASM is achieved. It is a yes and no indicator, and now we are still at no. So far, the mining department of the EPA and the mineral, the MNR PCU is working on term of reference on how to bring on board small-scale mining to the Akobin system. That is what they are working on at the moment. And we hope that when the Akobin system is established for the artisanal small-scale mining, the environmental and social management system will be incorporated into the operation. Currently, I think the Akobin is for large-scale mining. So the project will want to support that small-scale mining also come under the Akobin system. So the project is also supposed to increase benefits to communities. And so far, we have done 35,000 for those who are into management practices. And then alternative livelihood, we are yet to start. And then we also have specific indicators for female and youth. And those are the numbers that you see there, 19,000 for female, and then 10,000 for youth. We have 102,000 for female. So that indicator is specific to the extent that we should support up to 102,000 female in the project. So the alternative livelihoods, for instance, that we are yet to start, we have female-specific alternative livelihoods that we are going to roll out. So that will be only for female in order to meet this indicator. So in summary, for Woodlot, we've done 10,000, riparian about 1,500, and then reforestation, forest reserves, 3,400, and sustainable agriculture, we've done almost 18,000. And total number of beneficiaries, that is human beings, is 39,836. And we've done work in 353 communities so far. So in conclusion, what we can say for the project is that we know climate issues are cross-cutting, and there's the need for an integrated approach in order to sustain land management issues right from the policy level to the practice, as it brings about a lot of stakeholders who matter in the landscape. And one thing the project also uses is the bottom-up approach. We don't sit in Accra to plan any activity for anybody. The community has to come up with what they want, and we give TENCA guidelines on how they should do it in terms of environment and climate. So we also say that participatory approach is very vital to success of project activities. Thank you very much. So that is a brief of the presentation. The plan is to take questions and then answers if there are any. Okay, so we also have our bosses here, if they may want to add on.
Yeah, so I want to congratulate you for, I have to stand here. I want to congratulate you for the excellent presentation, and then secondly, the work that has been done. We can see that you are bringing a lot of good things to, especially the underprivileged. My comment or question is about the achievements so far. You indicated the end targets, but I wanted to know vis-a-vis what you've done so far, the status as to where you should have been by now. So we know that by the end of the project, you should achieve this. But what you have achieved, does it meet the requirements of what you should have achieved by now? Because I think that was what I didn't see, but I can see that a lot of good work has been done. And moving forward, more good work will be done. So if you could answer.
Okay, so thank you, Mr. Mwaku, take that. The project is about to do a midterm review. And as Auntie said, the project has midterm targets. So we want to know whether the successes are in relation to whether we will achieve the end or not. So, Mr. Mwaku, you have to come up. You have to stand there and then. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam, for the question. And I think that I would say we are on track for most of the indicators. Some of them we have even overachieved the midterm indicators. For example, the number of communities that are supposed to be brought on board by the end of the project is 582. And as at now, we have already done 353. By next year, we are bringing on board an additional 184 communities, which means that by the third year of the project, we are almost hitting the target for the number of communities. And we are operating in 26 political districts. And that is one. For the land area to be covered under each of the components. We will say that we have not gone that far because of the price changes in commodities or the inputs that we are using to support the farmers. The intention was that, or during the preparatory phase of the project, the unit costs per farmer that was used has, if not possible, quadrupled. So we are looking at if the same amount that we are spending now could have been spent on 4 farmers if we are using that same budget. So that is one of the challenges that we are confronted with now. So if you look at the target for the agricultural landscape of 110,000, by this time we should have been hitting somewhere around 30, 40,000, but we are around 18,000 hectares now. And then the number of beneficiaries as well has also reduced a bit. If you look at the forest landscape, those ones are on course because the forest reserves exist already. And it's the degraded portions that they are working to bring them up. And that is why they are using the modified Tonja system, where the degraded areas are given out to farmers to crop and also plant the trees, nurture the trees by weeding around them so that when the canopy closes, then they move out. Besides that, they are also doing the green fire breaks, where they are planting a lot of evergreen trees, so that even during the dry season, if fire should come, at least there should be a belt to protect it. For the creamer activities, as he mentioned, which is also covering part of the 12 million or the 2 million hectares that are supposed to be brought under sustainable management, creamer processes take some time. But as we speak, out of the, I think about 30 or 18 creamers that are supposed to be established, 9 was done during the sustainable land and water, 6 were done. And then I think 5 more are almost complete. You can say you have established a creamer when you devolve the power of authority to the communities to manage the resources. So they have gone through the processes, and they are at that point, the constitutions have been drafted, they need to be gazetted. Once it is gazetted, then the Wildlife Division will write to the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources for him to devolve authority to the communities to manage. And the creamer normally covers a large area where communities have agreed that we will sustainably manage this land area for our own benefits. As Anthony mentioned, when we saw the elephants crossing, these elephants have come from Togo and gone through Burkina Faso, and they are now resident in Ghana. All those elephants there are in Ghana. When we are going from Bolga to Zebila or Boko, the first police barrier, that forest, that is where they are crossing. That is, so they move up and down, and those areas need to be protected so that they will find comfort there and stay peacefully. So that is part of the creamer activities that they are doing to ensure that they don't do things that will drive them away. Because if we're able to maintain this elephant population in Ghana, it brings a tourism potential in that area. It creates jobs, opportunities, and those other things. So it's part of the creamer activities that is happening in the area so that these elephants can stay. And one of the things that creamer activities frown on is galamsey, because these animals, they are very wise. Once they see pits that have been dug in the area, means that it's a threat to them, and therefore they are going to leave the area. And there are some galamsey activities happening around the area. So the creamer activities are supposed to make sure that they stop them and allow the animals to also stay there. As far as the Special Development Framework and the integrated land and water management plans are concerned, we targeted 13 water basins, but we later realized that the water basins are more than we have put in there, but we are still saying we want to work within the 13 bigger water basins. As of now, planning is ongoing in about 6, and then the 3 activity, integrated land and water management plannings are going to, they have started with by the Water Resources Commission. When they finish, they come to the other. So we are hoping that the resources will be able to support all the 13 water basin plans and then the special development plans. The intention is that when these plans are developed, it will then help the district assemblies to go a step further to develop land use plans for their respective districts, as the law requires them to do. And once that is done, it reduces the rate of land degradation and wanton destruction of lands. For example, I personally cite Kaswa and Medina as very good examples. These are prime agricultural lands that were feeding Accra. That is why the University of Ghana cited their research station there. Those who are staying in the lakeside estates, that is the lake for the University of Ghana Great Research Station. So for the University of Ghana to set up the research station, that means that they have done all the necessary studies. And it's good for agriculture. But now what do we find? It's all converted to physical structures. The same as Kaswa, which is a prime agricultural land that was feeding Accra, but it's all now physical structures. Are we going to continue like that as a country? It's because there was no land use plan. If there were land use plans, we would have reserved that area and gazetted it as agricultural lands, that nothing can be done there, and it will continue feeding Accra and its environs. So those are the things that we need to now talk about and bring on board. And the project aims to set the base for the district assemblies to now move this forward. So I hope I've covered all the areas, unless there are some gaps. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Please come up. Come up, sir.
Thank you. I'm not very well versed in this area, but when you were giving your presentation, what struck me was to do with the mining, small scale mining, and how there will be, the land will be reclaimed, the monitoring and so on that will go on to ensure it is done. I was taken aback a bit because I know quite a number of them. Maybe those are the unlicensed ones, but those are the ones that create a problem. They will go at night and go and do the mining. So I was wondering how you control those ones too. So that is my question.
Thank you very much for the question. Even though I'm not a miner, I am an agri person. Since we are working together, that is the beauty of the integrated approach that we are using. Because when we sit together at the project management platform, when such questions come, we're able to discuss, and then at least if I cannot answer you fully, I'll be able to give you information on what I know. The mining component is trying to formalize the artisanal small-scale mining, what we normally call galamsey. It is a big challenge to us as a country, and all efforts are being made to make sure that the activities, the negative activities of these, our brothers and sisters, is reduced to the barest minimum. So the approach the project is using is that one, we want to train them in sustainable mining practices. What they are doing is unsustainable. So we want to train them in sustainable mining practices. So they have identified areas and they've started training them. That is why University of Mines and Technology is on board. The Precious Mineral Marketing Company is also there to also trace or track the gold that will be produced by those that have been trained. As part of the projects, we are trying to minimize the license acquisition period time. So they are integrating the license acquisition from Minerals Commission, EPA,
Water Resources.
and then Water Resources Commission on the same platform. where sometimes you don't even have to come physically to the office. You do an online application, it is accessed, and then you can be granted the license too. And then, just like Anthony mentioned, the Geological Survey Authority is also identifying where the mineral stocks are high, block them out for those small scale mining people so that they can focus their attention there and then minimize the wanton destruction that goes on. So from at the strategic level, these are the interventions. However, the reclamation bit is also ongoing, but as he mentioned, we need to go through some processes to identify where we will start the reclamation, what are the environmental and social issues that needs to be addressed before actual reclamation starts. And that is what we are doing now. The destruction of small-scale galamsey operators on licensed small-scale mining is so wide, but then we can't go full scale. We need to pilot this reclamation bit to see how it works. And then if there are gaps, then we sit together as a country, fill those gaps, and then now take it forward. So that is what the project is doing now. For stopping, the project has no authority to stop. Even the military, with the power of the president, has not been able to stop it now. So we are trying the other approach to see how it will work. And then if it works, then we'll take it forward to full scale. Thank you very much.
Asking you that how has that probably affected progress in terms of delivery? Has Galamsey affected the work that you are doing?
I would say yes and no. Yes, because areas that you think are prime agricultural lands or areas that you could use for forestry activities or woodlot and those other things, by the time you get to the communities, they're already destroyed. And then the communities will tell you that these people have come here and then our lands are gone. We are interested in the projects. Where to even feed ourselves is a big problem. Now we don't have enough land to farm. In such situations, it is difficult to support farmers whose lands have been destroyed, and then becomes a challenge. You see your brother, your colleague within the same community, we are all farmers, and then he's benefiting and I am not benefiting. So from that aspect, you see people are not that happy. The other aspect is that in some of the creamer areas, as we mentioned, sometimes before you realize in the night, these galamseyers will go and start working, just like my brother said earlier on. And it's a creamer area. Once it's a creamer area, we don't expect these activities to go on there. They do their best to prevent them within their power, but some of them, they are more powerful than the we have one typical example in the north, one of the forest creamer areas, which is close to a forest reserve. And the district assembly and the regional coordinating council, together with the creamer executive committee, have taken it up and they are working on it. So those are the dynamics on the field that we are having. Some positive, some negative. So that's why I say yes and no. And Ivy wants to add.
Just to add to what Mr. Mwako said, we know that, you cannot take away the risk of illegal mining. So we are very particular in the communities that we work in, because you can't control the illegal, but you can control the communities that you work in. So we go through a very vigorous selection criteria to make sure that the risk of illegal mining in that community where we are putting the investment is very minimal, so that our investment is protected.
Thank you. Okay. Any more questions, comments? Okay, so there's one question.
Okay, thank you very much. And that's a wonderful presentation. And I see the gender bit coming out very well, and how very affirmative you have been with the alternative livelihoods when it comes to women. But I want to find out, how intentional have you been in getting women into the processes from your start with respect to your formulations of policies way down to implementation? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for the question. And if you listen well to Anthony's presentation, how intentional have we been? We intentionally dedicated some funding to support female activities as far as alternative livelihoods are concerned. So right from the word go, we had that intention that we have to dedicate funds to support female-specific activities. The second one is that the overall project level indicators, we are expecting that a minimum of 40% of the beneficiaries should be females. Direct beneficiaries should be females. So right from the beginning, that was also established. Thirdly, in the formation of the community structures, it is indicated that at least 30% of the executives should be women. And even by the national institutions who participate in programs, meetings outside and inside within the country, there is an indicator to measure how many women are being sponsored by the project to participate. For this COP, the people who were sponsored by the projects are three: Isaac, Anthony, and Ivy. No, four, and Edwina. Two of them are women and two of them are male. 50-50. Okay. The next one is about establishment of village savings and loans associations. And as for that one, I can bet you have about 99% of them being women and only about 1% being men. And that's the project supports all these activities. So intentionally, we have made sure that the women also benefit, and they benefit well. The general sub-projects, watershed planning exercise that happens, if we go to a community and during the planning exercises, the women don't come out, the activities are not undertaken, because women have a special role and they have their own issues that needs to be discussed. The men cannot speak for them. So we need to bring them on board so we understand the issues of women and men in the community to help the planning. Because that exercise leads to a plan, community water management, watershed management plan. And if you leave the women activity out, you are bound to fail. So those are the steps that we have taken. So your last question. Physically challenged. They say they are not disabled. They are physically challenged. Yes, we consider it as part of the bigger gender activity. Especially any community that any such person expresses interest, we make sure that even when we are doing the verification, we want to see you physically, and they say, oh, this person is physically challenged, automatically that person is passed. When it's within the community, we walk to the person's house, go and see. I remember one of the communities that we visited in the Sechirafram Plains, and there was this lady who has submitted a sub-project proposal. When we mentioned her name, they were murmuring around. I said, "Oh, what is it?" I said, "Oh, Oyare Ofie." I said, "Oh, Oyare on Tiapo, so or you be on Tiapo like physical." I said, "Oh, don't worry." When we finished verifying the rest, we went and then when we saw that she cannot undertake the normal agricultural activities, we have penciled her down to benefit from the additional livelihood activities so that such people are not left out. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Okay. So the project, as Mr. Amakun has indicated, is very intentional about gender. Very, very much intentional about gender. And one of the case of the verification is that when you are verifying, they say that maybe the person registered has given birth 1 week. You don't expect to see the person. Once the committee is able to vouch that he has given birth, you do that. But maybe if it's a man and they say he's gone somewhere, you know, we because we need to see you that we are bringing fertilizer is to you, and he's not there. But when it comes to women and those things, we take it seriously. And as Mr. Mwaku indicated, the higher project indicator talks about 30% of beneficiaries being women. And the executive that he also mentioned, yes, the community structures for now. Sorry, the community structures right now, we have two. That is the community watershed management team and the community resource management team. Even though we say 30%, most of them is either 50-50 or if they are 9, it is mandatory that 4 of them should be women. Yes. Thank you very much. Yes, so on behalf of the project coordinators, we would like to thank you very much for attending to this session, and we hope to see you again. Thank you very much.